So we are in the metaverse. This is basically our virtual workspace.
Love it.
So let's talk about the metaverse. What's the
So,
metaverse?
Hatem, I'm gonna say Hatem is our chief metaverse officer here at
CMO, baby.
Junior. So Hatem, why don't you actually tell us a little bit about what it actually means?
In essence, it's a blanket term that really aims to say that there's going to be all these digital world or virtual world that people can interact with through avatars, where they can either meet or share experiences, such as gaming or try on clothes or do really things that you usually do on a real world, but now virtually. And it's just going to create uh, amount of new ways of experimenting the digital world.
Yeah, and I think more than that, right? Because people hear that and they think of VR and they say, kind of, what is the difference? But I think the real sort of key to the metaverse is how the digital and the physical world interact with one another, right? So,
Correct.
like, part of the stuff happens in the digital world, part of the stuff happens in the real world, and they kind of then the future of what we're gonna do is kind of interlace each other, so to speak.
Ultimately, these avatars will look very real.
Yeah.
You'll have real clothes that you pay for by cryptos. You'll have NFT art in your
Love it.
metaverse. So there's a lot of things that can happen down the road. So that's why we're excited about it, and we want to talk
Yeah.
about some of the players or some of we think the
Yeah.
companies are going to lead this kind of revolution.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of those. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to our trusty whiteboard here.
All right.
Let's see.
See how cool, like we can just actually, whiteboard some ideas here. Like let's say if we were meeting today, we're in the same room, but we could be literally thousands of miles away from each other, and we can.
Yeah. So
hang out.
let's talk about. Sorry. Let's talk about some of the players in the space, Hatem. So I think obviously we can't talk about the metaverse without talking about the
Facebook,
the evil empire itself. Again, I know Facebook. They're listening through my Oculus here. That they're probably going to come after me, but that's okay. So Facebook really, right?
Yeah. So really interesting, right? They kind of came up with this whole metaverse concept. Facebook is in an urgent need to shift their business model away from advertising simply because they've lost any credibility that they can be trusted with our data. So I think the metaverse
is another way for them to get access to our data
and a lot more data actually. Think about if you live here and if you have meetings with friends and interact with
Yeah, it's almost worse than social media, right? Because in
Totally.
social media you have to log on, you have to go to Instagram, you have to go to Facebook or Snapchat or wherever you're going and physically actually choose to do things.
Yep.
Here we're in the workspace,
Yep.
like we're in it. You know what I mean? So if Facebook wants to plan an advertisement in the window over here,
Yep.
for McDonald's or whoever they want to do it, like what choice do we ultimately have?
Yeah, and as we said, Facebook is losing all kind of credibility right now, but they own Oculus. Oculus is pretty much the only player in the space right now.
And again, I think it begs repeating that, like Zuckerberg is, the word metaverse comes from a book, right? I think it was from the 90s.
Correct.
But I think Zuckerberg has brought it back, and he's really creating the space, and because of, like you said, right, the need that they have to sort of grow users, grow their base, so to speak.
Yeah.
So they're definitely number one in this space right now because they're the ones pushing it.
Yep.
All
It's
right?
not a recommendation to buy Facebook, by the way.
We're not recommending that, absolutely. So another big cap, right? Another big tech player in this space is going to be Apple, right?
Yeah. So Apple is not there yet.
Yeah.
Apple is kind of the in this instance is like the younger sibling that is going to grow up and become something.
Well, that's what Apple always is, right? Apple is never first to the party.
Yeah.
They're the people who show up casually late, but are like everybody wants to party with them.
Yeah. So Apple kind of published or released ARKit 3 years ago, which is a kind of a bunch of tools for developers to be able to really develop for AR and so forth. And we think that's kind of the first iteration of where things are going to go. So definitely doing something. They have some filing for some VR headsets coming up.
Yeah.
But the day Apple gets into the space, is the day where this thing blows up. Third, I think it's Santa Monica actually companies, our neighbors, Snapchat. We love Snapchat. We think Evan Spiegel is one of the the LA, the ingrown kind of tech gurus. He stood up to Facebook many years ago and has proven that he can actually compete. Snapchat has done some really cool stuff. They are winners with the very coveted 13 to 20 demographic
that Facebook's trying to get.
Yes, exactly.
Or pre-13.
Yeah.
I think it's important for Snapchat is sort of almost the creator of the augmented reality space almost, right? They're with the filters and all the different things that they created for their social media platform, let's say almost a decade ago now. They were sort of the innovators here, and
they've been early, right? They've been doing this for 10 years now.
Exactly.
So they're
so
really
this is the next move up, right? This is kind of as the evolution of these things happen.
Yeah, and they also, they've gone into hardware. You got the spectacles, which is kind of
their giant failure of
the new
hardware.
ones. The new ones actually are doing good. They have some good reviews with creators and stuff. So listen, you are in a space where you're gonna fail. You have to innovate.
Hey, Google failed first, right? You remember Google? Does everybody remember Google Glass?
Yeah.
Not many people remember that other than like people like us who follow this stuff very closely. So Snapchat for sure. I think moving back to the gaming place. I think a very exciting company when we talk about the metaverse. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you may have not. If you have kids, you most likely heard of Roblox.
Yeah.
I can tell you there's nothing on earth my kid wants to do more than play Roblox.
Right.
Only second to that is YouTube. And my kid is a kid who loves playing outside, loves playing sports.
So why would you say Roblox is a metaverse play? I mean,
so basically everything with Roblox is social. The kids build the games, they interact. My son FaceTimes his friends while they're playing, and they're interacting in the physical or when they're next. Like last couple weeks ago, my nephew and my son were playing together, and they're talking to each other, and they're sitting right next to each other, like you and I are, Hatem, and they're both on Roblox, interacting in the real and the physical world, and as well as the VR world. So you get Roblox, you get money, you spend it, you buy things within the metaverse. And it's just a complete interaction overlay between the two worlds.
Yeah.
So Epic Games, right, is the again, as far as video games go, probably the originator.
So Epic Games,
but Epic with Fortnite. For those of you who are not familiar with Fortnite and gaming, again, all your kids probably know this game. This was sort of the big game that sort of toppled the industry. It's those freemium games. You get to interact virtual and real world. And like you said, they're in a big battle against Facebook. We can go through all the battles these companies are having with each other.
So the other thing about Epic is they also own Real Engine. Which is the software tools that you use to develop some of these kind of VR or virtual worlds. So they're not just a game maker, but they do actually own or make these tools that you kind of are necessary to create these virtual worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's there's another one. Unity.
Unity is one of my favorite companies. They are the competitor. The Unity engine is the main engine for.
Can you explain what engine means, Hatem? Like, what does that mean exactly?
An engine is basically you have to have a way for you to build all these virtual worlds, and it's basically like coding, but you're coding for digital worlds. So it's really software tools to be able to create avatars and and be able to interact in 3D with all your creations and so forth.
So they give you the platform on which to build these other games. So like it's not necessarily everybody needs to know how to code from the ground up.
No.
Right? You get this game and you sort of build this on top of it.
Correct. It's exactly it. It's almost like a platform where you can build on. Awesome. Unity has over 2 million developers developing on this platform. So it's a very, very big business. And now it's actually gone beyond just the metaverse or just like games. You got a lot of Hollywood movies being created in Unity game engines. You have um, a lot of sets are being built there. You
Yeah.
have so there's a lot of things that really you can build
Yeah.
on.
As things become more
Yeah.
digital in movies also, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the movies are CGI
Yeah.
enabled, and a lot of the movies. So
Yeah.
they use these things to kind of create that.
Architects are developing or are building,
Yeah.
buildings into these VR or virtual spaces before they put them into the real world, so they can understand how they
Yeah.
work and so forth. There
Yeah.
is some medical research being done
Mm-hmm.
in Unity engines. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of really cool things that we do, and this is why we feel it's an exciting space,
Yeah.
because the opportunities are just huge.
Yeah. And I think if we're going to talk about video games as well as build, the platforms that we build on, I think the hardware maker that makes all of this possible is one of my favorite companies, NVIDIA.
Oh yeah.
NVIDIA, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who used to play video games back in the day on computers, NVIDIA was the player, and that was kind of all they did.
Yeah.
Is they made chips for video games,
Yeah.
and now they pretty much make chips for everything. Right?
Yeah.
So whatever need you have for chips,
Yep.
VR, AR, AI, we're gonna throw all kinds of acronyms, gaming, self-driving, all this kind of stuff is NVIDIA's
Yeah.
wheelhouse, and gaming is still where they get most of their revenue from, even though they have a lot of I'm sorry, I forgot to mention data centers also. But they are the hardware on which a lot of this is based, right? Like without NVIDIA chips, this stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, you can't do any of these because you require so much computing power, and especially video computing power. And NVIDIA is really who makes it all happen.
Yeah, yeah. So they're again they're gonna be in these Oculus headsets. We have NVIDIA chips, and as well as any of the video games that you play on the consoles, they all have those chips as well.
Yep.
So those are just a few of the companies. Everybody's kind of getting into this space overall. Like it's the new buzzword. It's kind of starting to feel like when the word social media started to become a thing. Is it going to be as big as social?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think it's going to be bigger than social.
You think so?
do. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say that. Facebook has like 2.5 billion users, so that's pretty much everybody who has a computer on Earth.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. We just wanted to really felt compelled to share this experience.
Yeah.
We love this innovation. We love this kind of frontier world and all of this new stuff that's happening. So
all right. Thanks for joining us.
thank you.